Come on. I can do this. Come on. Jump on Mario. Jump! Jump like you're a ballerina high on iced coffee. Woohoo! Woohoo! Here we go. Here we go. Is that spot the only reason that spot exists is just for that one red coin? That's kind of pointless. Okay, last red coin. Where is it? Ah, it's underneath the staircase. Clever idea. I did it. I finally did it. You know, there are some things in life that you just don't get to accomplish, and sometimes you wish you would have done it sooner or later, but you know what they say, better late than never. And for me, I've done it. I finally got all 120 stars on my favorite game of all time. Guess I should talk about my joy of completing the game. I mean, that's the one thing that I think everyone should do, and that Hello and welcome everyone to the Marr Show. And today's a special episode because after so many years of postponing talk about it, and honestly, to be fair, this is something that I kind of regret doing on the show because there's a lot of games that I love, like Psychonauts, Epic Mickey, Banjo-Kazooie, a lot of games that I've loved to death that I would love to talk about, but I keep pushing back for like special occasions like the 50th episode of the show or the 100th episode. But honestly, sometimes it's kind of hard to because I really love some games that I would love to talk about sooner or later. And it's funny too because with Super Mario 64, it's one of my favorite games of all time, hands down. I know I say that for a lot of other games, but this one in particular is like one of my top favorites. And I've been postponing it for so long. Like, I was originally gonna do an original against remake with the DS version that came out back when the DS launched. I was also playing the game on Marr Pals, just cause I wanted to play it on Marr Pals. But unfortunately, me and Ned Thomas never really got to finish it. I think we only got like 6 or 7 episodes of it, and we haven't really made any new ones for quite a long time. And I decided, you know what, with Super Mario Odyssey coming up, I figured, screw it, I'm just gonna make an episode. I mean, I'm pretty close to the 50th episode mark, but you know what, I'm saying screw it and just talk about it because I've been playing this game recently and I've beaten it, and I just want to talk about it because it's a special game to me. Next to Kingdom Hearts on the PlayStation 2, this is one of the most important games to me, in my opinion, because it's the very first video game that I've ever played in my life, ever. Like, the first game I've ever got to touch on a controller and play. I mean, I was probably like 3 or 4, maybe 5 when I first started playing it, and admittedly, I sucked at the game when I started. But I mean, over time, it's just become a special game that I love true and dear to my heart. And with Super Mario Odyssey coming up, and considering the fact that I've done a pretty important thing regarding the game, I decided that it's worth talking about right here, right now. Instead of holding back, I just want to share my love for one of the most important games in my life, and one of my favorite Mario games, period. So I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of hard to try and figure out a starting point for the review, but I think I want to mention a little fun fact about the game. I don't really talk about him much in my videos, let alone my mom, but my dad, he's a farmer in real life, and I don't really see him a whole lot because he's so busy working, either doing maintenance on tractors during winter time, or out plowing and trying to grow squash and zucchini during the spring and summer. But at one point he did play a lot of games. In fact, when he first got the Nintendo 64, he played a crap ton of Super Mario 64, especially that one. In fact, Profile 1, or Mario A on the game, is actually my dad's profile, and I do not touch it or mess about with it at all because I like to keep that profile to remind me that he did play games. I mean, granted, if I were to show you that this is my dad, and you met him in person and just compared to me, it'd be like night and day a bit, but I mean, you know, it's a little fun thing that I like to keep around, proving that he did play video games, even though he's not huge into games that much, honestly. Of course, we all know the story. Princess gets kidnapped by Bowser, or her soul is entrapped in the castle, and Mario has to go in to save the day and stuff, collect all the stars, restore the castle, yada yada yada. It's the same story and premise, but there's a little bit more difference in this game, because this is, well, technically it's not the very first time Mario spoke. I mean, Charles Martinet has done the voice of Mario a few previous times in the past, like for example in Mario's Real Time, where he puts on a helmet and it's like speaking Mario's voice.
I forgot to get you lunch.
Oh, no, I'm very hungry. I haven't had a bite to eat all day. A bite. Get it? It's a little computer joke.
But for me and many other people, this is the first time that Mario has a distinct voice, and it's funny too to really think that Charles Martinet has done the character Mario for over 22 years now, and he still does a fantastic job. He may not be as hyperactive or high-pitched compared to when Mario was voicing first time in the game, but it's still incredibly, it's still rather gifted to see him voicing as Mario, even to this day, even though a lot of times they've been reusing dial-up recordings of a lot of Mario characters in a lot of the newer games, but whatever. But I do want to mention another voice that was in the game, and that's the voice of Princess Toadstool, or Peach. And she was voiced by Leslie Swan. Now, if you don't know who she is, she's a pretty big localization person within Nintendo, doing a lot of localization for most of the Nintendo games. I don't think there's been a one Nintendo game that she's not done localization for, but she actually did Peach's voice in this game. And honestly, to be fair, it's not something that a lot of people mention, but I feel like it's worth mentioning because she's done a whole lot in terms of doing localization, bringing over games from Japan to North America, and I just think that she does a good Peach voice. Well, at least she doesn't do like a normal Peach, but you know, being the early stages of all the Mario characters getting voices, you know, I think it's a nice little fun fact to mention. Now, of course, when you have a franchise that is well known within like a side-scroller or 2D platformer, it's kind of hard to try to bring it within 3D, because during those early stages of 3D, some games did well while others did tremendously poor. In fact, sometimes they kind of kill the franchise, like Earthworm Jim or Bubsy 3D. But with Mario 64, it took elements that made the 2D platformers great while also bringing in new ideas and innovations into Mario 64, like the control scheme. Of course, you have Mario that still jumps and walking around, but with 3D, there's so much new possibilities to control Mario. And with the fact that this introduced the analog stick for game consoles, it brought in a new realm of how to control a character within the game. After playing it for about a week, I was surprisingly surprised of how well the controls have aged, in my opinion. They still are extremely well done. Now, granted, there's been a few times, for example, if I'm on a small platform and having trouble trying to move Mario a bit, he kind of stumbles, or when the camera doesn't negotiate, but those happen very rarely, and I thought the controls have aged quite well. It's really fun to perform a lot of the tricks because at first they're simple, but then you get to the complicated, I wouldn't say too complicated, but really diverse moves that Mario can do, like the triple jump or the ground pound, or probably everyone's favorite move to do, the long jump, which is a lot of fun to do, and probably is my favorite Mario move in my honest opinion, which is the reason why I'm kind of disappointed with like Sunshine's control scheme, but I'll get to that on another day. But with Mario 64's control scheme, it's simple, but then when you get to learn the different moves and stuff, it feels really inspiring to be able to discover different moves and putting them within the courses. And not to mention, when you successfully do backflip over a chain chomp, you feel like a gaming champion.
And whoa, that was awesome! That was awesome!
Oh, I'm proud of myself.
That was awesome. Good job.
I did it! Just get a replay of that!
Now you're a man!
But of course the thing that really makes Mario 64 shine is the gameplay. And honestly, to be fair, in my opinion, one thing that I love about Mario 64 that I favor more compared to like some of the previous games is that it doesn't really hold your hand that much. What I mean by that, it means it's not obvious with like the secrets or something. With like say something like Mario Galaxy 2, even though I know it's a bit different compared to 64, and even though the challenge there is great, I love the challenges that Galaxy 2 offer. I'm not gonna lie, there has been a few times where the game kind of does hold your hand a little bit, especially when you do die a lot of times and you get that option to have the Cosmic Rosalina Shadow to help beat a level for you. But with Mario 64, there's no such thing. In fact, even though there's a lot of secrets in the game, it does subtly tell you, hey, I'll give you a small hint or something. Like when you jump into a course and the title of the star reads, the title may give out a small hint. Like for example, it may be as obvious like face the King Bomb or go on top of the pillars or something, but it doesn't tell you like how you get to it or how to find these pillars or find a boss or something. In fact, that's generally a complaint that I actually have with the remake on the DS, is the fact that on the bottom screen it shows you where the star is. And I think that kind of destroys some of the charm, because with Mario 64, yeah, it's about the journey, trying to go through the courses to discover where the star might be. What can you do to discover a star? And sometimes in a course, you don't even have to go in order. Like for example, in Tick-Tock Clock, there may be one star that you may start out with saying, go to the top or halfway through the top of the clock. However, you can also skip that star and go even higher to get the star above that, or you could go to the very top and just go to the star that's being guarded by a frump, which is still terrifying to this day. Or heck, even in Bob-omb Battlefield, even though the first star that you must attain is to defeat King Bob-omb, but you can easily go and collect the red coins there, or you can react to Chain Chomp Battle, anything like that. And you don't get punished for going out of order of the stars, and I love this freedom. It's actually very similar to how I felt about Breath of the Wild now I think about the whole freedom that you could do anything you want in any order or anything like that. And I think that's the reason why I love both games, even though they're extremely different. With Mario Galaxy 2, on the other hand, you have to do things in an order. And sure, there have been a few times where you can divert into a planet to do a side mission or something, but most of the time it's kind of like you do this star first before you could go further in a galaxy or something. And that's something I think that Mario 64 does well. Heck, even Sunshine, the game that's the closest to 64 before Odyssey, has that whole rhythm of getting a certain shine sprite before you can get the next one, which is kind of beats the purpose of an open world platformer, but what the heck, I don't know what I'm talking about. Pretty much, I love the fact the game doesn't hold your hand, but it does offer a few small hints here and there. And of course, with the open world platforming, all the stages are amazing, still hold up well. Bob-omb Battlefield, in my opinion, is the perfect starter level that helps you get into the groove of the controls, how the whole game's gonna play out, and even is probably the most easiest to go out of order of the stars, and also discover some secrets as well. It's a fantastic gameplay, doing different stuff, getting red coins and all that. But of course, it wouldn't be a Mario game without power-ups, and of course the power-ups are caps. There are 3 different caps in the game. My least favorite one is the Vanish cap that makes you fade through walls, but honestly I don't remember really using it that much majorly in my playthrough. Maybe for like 2 or 3 stars, but that's about it. But the metal cap is also pretty cool, that allows you to go underwater and actually walk in it, which helps extremely well in some cases. But of course the one power-up that I love, and is actually one of my favorites, is the wing cap, where if you put it on, you can fly like an eagle and be free and stuff. And it's a really fun power-up, especially having the Star Man music playing in the background. In fact, I forgot to really mention the music composed by the amazing Koji Kondo, who, while some of the music tracks are very familiar, like the opening theme in the menu, or the Starman again when you put on the ring power-up, but a lot of the music themes are completely original, and in my opinion are some of the best compositions. I mean, Da Da Rocks is still one of the most relaxing music track themes ever in a video game, but so many other tracks are really inspiring, including the ending credit crawl, which is probably one of the best ending music tracks ever. The slide theme is really fun, but one of the things I love about Mario 64 is the fact that it's one of those games that I can just escape and just have fun within the game world. And the best part is the game itself is extremely simple and lighthearted. You don't need a dark, cold-hearted, complex game and environment to have fun. Sometimes a lighthearted game that doesn't take itself too seriously and is colorful and fun but also challenging is all that you need to have a good time in a video game. And Mario 64, I think, is a game that really proves that, in my opinion. I just love the game so much for all that it has, and honestly, I think it's aged extremely well. Now, I mean, granted, with Super Mario Odyssey coming out and comparing to 64, visually we've come a long way, but I mean, it's still fun and lighthearted in what it is. Now, even though I've beaten the game countless times, I've never actually gotten all 120 stars. I usually gone like 100 stars, or maybe on 1.102, but never the 120 stars. Now, I know some people will complain, you suck at the game, but I don't care. I'm not much of a completionist person. I mean, if I beat the game and I love it and I have fun, that's all that matters. And sometimes when you're trying to complete a game 100%, it can be very tedious at times, as Gerard has pointed out many a times on his show. But honestly, I've been wanting to beat the game for quite a while because I've gotten better in video games over time, and honestly, I just thought over a year ago that I just think I should just get 120 stars. In fact, that's pretty much the original intention on why I played the game on Delmar Palace, was to collect the stars 120%, and I wanted my friend near Thomas to be there. Unfortunately, life comes at you, and we got distracted with so much stuff, and even when we get together, we generally just want to hang out and just have fun and talk because we don't usually see each other that much, which is the reason why we haven't really been posting stuff on that channel. But when Mario Odyssey had the release date of October 27th, I figured, you know what, regardless who's with me, I want to beat this game, get all 120 stars, and I did it. I got all 120 stars. Even though I'm not really, this game hasn't really made me a completionist at all or anything, but getting 120 stars to a game that I've played many of times felt so rewarding, and honestly, after coming back to the game after years later and playing so much more harder games, the game's actually not as difficult as I remember. Now granted, there have been times where I died a lot, especially in Tick-Tock Clock and I want to say Rainbow Ride? Well, actually Rainbow Ride isn't really that bad in my opinion. Tick-Tock Clock, I think, is a lot more harder. I thought the challenge was very fair, and again, there's no hand-holding or a whole lot of hand-holding, so I was really impressed that when I remember certain sayings. In fact, the funny thing was, a few weeks ago I was out of town and I actually found this guide to Mario 64, which did help me a little bit, but I didn't use it a whole lot because I do remember a lot of stars. But I have to admit, it's actually really fun to have this guide and just go back in time to when a guide was very helpful, and just seeing these wonderful colorful illustrations that sadly I don't think a whole lot of guides do nowadays. Although I will say that when I said I collected I think the most I got was 102 stars, there was one certain challenge in each course that I did not do, that I didn't know at the time because, again, the game didn't really say, hey, do this, do that and stuff. And that is, I never really got to do the 100 coin challenge. And if you don't know what that is, pretty much in each course, if you collect 100 coins, a secret star will appear when you collect the last gold coin. And sometimes that could be a little monotonous in my opinion. I recommend, if you're going to do a 100 coin challenge, I recommend doing that as you're doing, like, say, the red coins, or just doing a generic mission or something, because when you collect all the stars in the world, sometimes it could be a bit tedious. Now, in some of the easy stages like Bomb Battlefield or Womp's Fortress, it's fine. But when you get to some of the harder levels and platform becomes a bit challenging, and also the blue coins pop up in random places and you have to redo a course so you can get those blue coins and all that. At the end of the day, it felt really accomplishing completing the game and getting all 120 stars. Whenever I got 120 stars and getting into that cannon that I could never freaking get in this entire time, and flying around and seeing Yoshi, it felt really rewarding. Now granted, the reward isn't that great. All you could fly around Peach's castle, which is a lot of fun, talk to Yoshi, who gives you 100 lives. Granted, you already beat the game, so it's kind of pointless to have those extra 100 lives. Would have been helpful earlier, but whatever. And also, not to mention, when you triple jump, when you finally perform that, you can have Ghost Box on Marr, which is cool. But one thing that people don't really talk about, and granted it is a minor thing, but it's something that I thought was interesting, is that when you go to Cool Mountain and you go to the big penguin to do the race, the penguin actually increases in largeness. Like, the penguin's a lot taller. In fact, there's even a funny bit of dialogue of him gaining some weight or something. I just think that's funny because the penguin's probably sad because you beaten him in the slide, and I don't know, I just think that's funny in my opinion. I don't know why, but yeah, that's something not a whole lot of people talk about in terms of completing Mario 64, but there it is. I just thought that was hilarious. So yeah, what can I say about Mario 64? Well, why say anything else? I just said everything. Is pretty much the best game ever, one of my favorite games ever. It's one of the most revolutionary games ever made back in the 5th generation of consoles, and really I think a lot of 3D games nowadays have to thank for its innovation in terms of like the control and camera in a 3D environment, and really in terms of just good video games. It's a fun escape, fun little but challenging platformer, and honestly I highly recommend trying this game out. And I can safely say that after completing 120 stars and thinking about it for a while, I can honestly say that this is probably my absolute favorite Mario game ever. Now granted, Mario Odyssey will probably be pretty close to that line, but you know, I'm really excited because I've been wanting to see a game like Mario Odyssey, where it's that open game environment with no hand holding and just all around having such a good time. Now the game's available on the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console. However, I also recommend trying out the remake. Granted, I don't like how it shows you where the star is on the bottom screen, and I think the camera is a little bit wonky at times in this, but honestly this is a pretty good remake. Plus you get 30 extra stars and some new levels of stuff that wasn't in the original, and plus being able to play as Yoshi, Luigi, and Wario? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Honestly, I was gonna do a original against remake, but honestly, that series I really haven't been thinking about that for quite a while, so I don't think I'll be planning on doing that type of video style anytime soon. But I might cover this game probably, who knows. I mean, granted I didn't really play a whole lot because when I had my original DS, playing a 3D platformer on a D-pad was crap, but seeing as how it's available on the Wii U and plus it's backwards compatible with the 3DS with the circle pad, it's a little bit more better to play in my opinion. But still, I'm so happy that I was able to cover this game, and really I'm just happy I finally got to talk about this game. I've waited 43 freaking episodes to talk about my favorite game ever. I feel horrible. I really do. But anyway, that's all the time we have for today, folks. So, if you would like to leave your thoughts on today's game, just comment below. And, I mean, picking up the cartridge is pretty much one of the best-selling, in fact, the best-selling N64 game ever, like 11 million sold. So, I mean, it's a very common game to get. But again, it's available on Wii and Wii U Virtual Console, and the DS version is also available on like the DS as well as on the Wii U Virtual Console, which I think is really fun, and I personally prefer a little bit in my opinion. But regardless, I'm just I'm just finally happy to talk about it, you know? So maybe I can finally talk about some of my other games, because I'm not gonna lie, I've done some dumb crap on the show, but then again, I'm saving that when I hit 50 episodes. But, you know what? I'm pretty much tired of talking, so I'm gonna go bake a cake.